having people around you who are smart will tell you, you need to start cooling down. Oh, now it's time. You need to stop. Because on my own, I didn't get there.
Hey, my name is Felix Tia, and I'm the host of Shopify Masters, a weekly podcast powered by Shopify, the easiest way to sell online, in person, anywhere in between. Each week, we invite entrepreneurs like you to share what they've learned growing successful e-commerce businesses. In this episode, you'll learn why starting a company is more like a science than an art these days, what are the most important systems you should build for your business, and how to use customer feedback and the marketplace to determine what products to create next. Before the show, I wanted to chat about Exchange Marketplace. It's Shopify's marketplace to buy and sell businesses. In addition to browsing businesses that are up for sale, you can now gift a business to an aspiring entrepreneur in your life for as little as $50. Visit exchangemarketplace.com/categories/gift-a-business for more information, or you can go to the show notes to get the link as well. Today, I'm joined by John Cascarano from Beast. Beast creates grooming and personal care products for you and other beasts of all kinds to smell, feel, and experience, and was started in 2015 and based out of Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome, John.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so the idea behind the business all started back from a passion of yours to create a specific type of brand. Tell us more about where the motivation behind the business came from.
Yeah, sometimes I say it came from early middle age, but it kind of came from a combination of things. I mean, I was working in my prior business, which was personal care products more for women, and this goes back over a decade now. And at the time, I just saw guys starting to become more interested in grooming and personal care products. The beard trend started happening. But beyond that, guys just started kind of upping their grooming game, as we say now at Beast. But also I was kind of in my, getting into my late 30s, life, a lot of responsibility. And I was looking for a combination of things I wasn't really finding out there in the marketplace. So, something really, I say it kind of started in the shower, but just something that would just kind of wake me up, turn it up. Just kind of, and it was really kind of a hobby. I was like, all right, we got all these women's products. Let's take some of the best stuff that's happening there. And some really good stuff was happening there. And let me like crank it up. Let me like turn up the eucalyptus, turn up the peppermint, and just kind of like wake me up in the shower. And that's kind of where it started.
Yeah, and this entrepreneurial journey of yours started before that. You kind of hinted at it a bit. Tell us more about that. Tell us about all of the different kind of ventures you've started in the past.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, when I was a little kid, something happened, and I always had kind of this anxiousness to do something different. And I go back to elementary school. My friend and I, we made little bracelets and would sell them to other kids. And we set up a little booth and would sell them at a fair. We sold them to parents. So that was the first venture, little yarn bracelets. But then, flash forward to college, some friends and I, we started a magazine on campus, and this is like 1999 at this point. So other people were doing tech startups, and we did a magazine on campus, and it was called Mental Floss, and worked on that for a while. I ended up going to law school, of all things. My two friends kept working on it and ended up turning into a good media property. I went to law school. As I say, I paid $150,000 to meet my wonderful wife. And practiced law 5 years, and then the financial crisis happened, and so I was there. I remember being in a big building in Philly in a big firm, watching the stock market drop, and being like, well, things are changing. So I basically, out of that, I started a new business, and that was that prior business I referenced. That was products for women. Really with my father-in-law, who was a dermatology professor at NYU, and had a private practice up in New York. And initially, it started just to meet a need for his patients, a lot of whom were women. And then eventually, out of that grew Beast.
Yeah, so that's definitely an amazing journey. So you mentioned that you went to practice law for 5 years before jumping back into startup life, and I think this is kind of like a path that others might have taken, where they might have had some entrepreneurial pursuits early on, and then decide to, take a different path, and then decide to come back. Talk to us about that transition back. That you hit the ground kind of running, or like how do you transition back from, I guess, a more typical, I guess, job to into back into the startup life?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's no easy way to do that. They're very different, especially going from a law firm where there's a very distinct career path that a lot of people thrive in, and I really didn't. I kind of felt where some people really grow. I felt really stifled, but it was really consistent, and and um, and so moving to a startup life, all of a sudden there was no structure. The structure was whatever I would make of it. I mean, there was the first day, it's like, wow, I can do anything I want. And at the same time, it's scary, right? You could do anything you want. If you don't you don't make the right moves, and it's on you. It's all on you now. I mean, you are, heavy lies the crown. You started a business. Congratulations, and best of luck, Um, so I think you really have to know yourself. You have to think about, it's more of a science now than I think over time starting a business has become more of a study and a pursuit and a science. And you know think about your habits, establish good habits, because in the end a lot of what the books say you should do, you should do. And I stumbled a lot at first getting back into it. I played golf. I had some savings from being a lawyer, and quickly I went through those savings and quickly had to learn how to create a business that could make money. And I also had a newborn baby at the time. So it went from being a really fun time, an exciting time, to a really real time really fast.
Yeah, and I think one important thing you did here was kind of highlight that there are benefits to both the kind of corporate, the more traditional path, and the startup path, and it really is about what's the right fit for you, right? And that one might seem attractive, but that you have to make sure you're kind of reflective in deciding what's right for you. Now, you had mentioned that it's now becoming starting companies now becoming more of a science. I think that's an interesting take on it. Can you speak more about this? Like, what would it feel like when you in the early days, I guess, when you first starting your first companies compared to now?
Yeah. At the time, especially in consumer brands, and I'm assuming a lot of the listeners probably have a lot of them are going to have some kind of product like I do. And I backed into it out of fun, really. I talked about, well, I wanted to create something that woke me up in the shower, wakes me up, makes me feel something. And that's good. That's a good start. Um, and ultimately, you're trying to get to product market fit. Well, there are now books and books and books and classes on product market fit. How do you identify? It took me like 5 years to get there. The original brand, this original brand was called Sasquatch with the tagline "Tame the Beast," and we got a cease and desist over Sasquatch, and then started rolling with just Tame the Beast. And all along the way, the formulas are changing. I'm making little improvements, listening to customers, but this is playing out over like years. And then ultimately, we also had a trademark on Beast, and ultimately started realizing, what? What do customers really like? What motivates them the most? What gets them most excited about the brand? And we did surveys. We did, you hear a lot through customer support. Like, just give it enough time, and the customers will tell you what you should do. And ultimately, the brand became just Beast. I mean, we still put Tame the Beast on some products, but there's something about just that word Beast that's really, number one, I'm really lucky to have gotten a trademark on that, in personal care products. But number two, um, um, what could that name be? At its highest and best use. And it took like years and years to really hone in on that. But I think in our case, we could have expedited it by doing more surveying and potentially, you know, focus groups. There's different tools you can use to try to expedite that process. But in the end, for me, it was years and years of just listening to customers, taking feedback, and making incremental improvements.
Yeah, so lots of a couple questions actually coming out of this. So you mentioned surveying and focus groups, and what you're getting at is that there's kind of like these rules to the road, or maybe these processes that are well defined that at least will not necessarily guarantee your success, but are almost like required in order for you to be successful. So if you were to start all over again, given that you do have this kind of serial entrepreneurship, and that if you were to start business again today, what are some of the most important kind of rules of thumb that or like details or processes that you have to do and you have to get right in order for you to even be for you to even be possible to be successful?
Yeah, I mean, well, beyond some of the branding things, which are super important, and within that, it's like both maybe a science and an art or a craft. A great name, a great name helps. You need all the social handles, URL. Consistency is super important. People need to find you. They need to be able to find you on social and find your website and have it all be clear, consistent. I've read that a brand is a position in your mind, and that consists. We need ease, and we want it to be fast. And if people can find you easily, regardless of what your name is, if it's just that consistency is super important. And then, if you're in tangible goods, people need to. You need the systems of delivering the product to them. So, obviously, the website, host provider, you need good fulfillment. Fulfillment's probably one of those things that gets overlooked a lot, but it's really, that is one of the most important things is your customer's experience with your brand after they've had the digital experience, right? And then customer service, marketing, every one of these things becomes a department in and of itself. And then within marketing, there's new customer marketing versus existing customer marketing. Some people call it remarketing, but they're different experiences. What do you want people's first experience with the brand to be versus their next experience? And each one, you're going to develop systems, email, text. There's all these customer communication channels that we have and are changing. Maybe it's, these days people are using a little more text than email, but email's still critical. There's your paid ads, and around each there's choices, apps, providers. It's the same with fulfillment. There's a million fulfillment providers, and many of them don't do a great job. And it's an ongoing process to get that right, for us.
Yeah. So you mentioned consistency, almost like methodical or measured in your customer's experience of your brand. Now, how do you make sure that this happens, that you are being consistent? I think when you're just you yourself and you're starting a business, hopefully it's easier to be consistent when it's just you. But as you scale up, you grow a team and there's just more things that are not in your immediate reach, your immediate purview. How do you make sure that the brand stays consistent?
Yeah, having, I think, good people and good systems is the answer. It's when you start out. When I started out, I did customer service, I did marketing, I was every department, and you have a direct link to your customer. So when someone has a problem, you know, the canary in the coal mine is a lot of times customer service, telling you and being able to respond fast. And if you're doing it yourself early on, it's great, but then all of a sudden you got people and systems that you have to have to scale. And I think it's okay having good tools. It's, you have to start looking at metrics more and more. What is our response time on customer service? And a lot of there's plenty of apps. We use an app to help with customer service. There's a whole ecosystem of apps. You kind of pick one and roll with it and look at the analytics, and look at the reviews and have systems of seeing those reviews in volume. So where you're reviewing them, product reviews, site reviews, everything public facing about your brand, and then potentially, surveys. That we've started to do that more, just simple surveys. Sometimes just, a text or an email to customers. How was your experience? Is there anything we can help with? Just with no real purpose around it other than to be helpful. You learn a lot.
Yeah, so I want to make it sure this is like very descriptive and tangible for the audience. Can you talk to us about the systems that you have, or maybe we'll start off by saying like, how do you identify what system to build or to focus on first as you're building out your business?
Yeah, I mean, I probably the biggest decision is the e-commerce platform, and this is Shopify. We use Shopify. I think there's a time where I think there were a lot more options in building an e-commerce platform. A lot of people, some companies would even build their own, from scratch. But that's the biggest decision. I mean, we've obviously chosen Shopify, so that's, let's say you roll with that. Like maybe that's the iPhone of platforms. Well, then you have your apps, and the app just like with the iPhone, I look at, there's like a robust app store, and every person. And I've consulted to some friends too, and there's always this. You reach this moment where you have your brand, and what apps do you need? And you need a developer, and you need someone to build your website, and there's going to be choices. Do you pay someone to start it from scratch, or do you make a choice? So like customer service, we use Gorgeous. It's one of a number of customer service apps, but it sucks in. You really have to go through it, and you almost sometimes you just learn out of necessity and find a solution out of kind of volume. The volume tells you what to do. So you start having Facebook comments, you start having text responses, you start having emails, and all of a sudden it's not manageable for a small team. So okay, you need something to suck it all in. So there's a problem and there's a solution for it. And so that's just one example. But around other things, fulfillment, that's a really important early decision for a lot of people. Is that helpful?
Yeah, and I think one of the other key aspects of this is around when to jump onto tools, right? I think I see sometimes pretty often where it's a brand new company, brand new business, and they got lots of tools right off the bat. How do you know when to invest in tools? And not just like paying for the tools, but like you obviously got to do the training, and then there's just a lot involved in
Right.
investing in tools. Tell us about how you make the decision.
And money too, and each app may or may not have a charge. And sometimes it's like I have three daughters, and we kind of try to manage their screen time, and it's like a similar thing. And sometimes you get the in-app purchase, and before you know it, you're like, man, this was free, but um, now it's a lot of time. And then I'm sitting there trying to install this thing and get it set up for them. I'm like, man, I've spent all this time on this. Yeah, it's it's a challenge, right? Like we at our company, you know, we have there's a number of us now, and my our CFO, for example, he's really kind of conservative. Doesn't want to spend an unnecessary dime, doesn't want to introduce more complexity. So it's a trade-off. Whereas I'm inclined to try the latest and greatest shiny model. And I definitely think it's a balance. Through experience, I've learned just be cautious. Make sure there's a true need for this. And then there's a decision, like maybe you don't outsource it. Do you outsource? Do you not outsource? Do you get an app? Do you not get an app? And sometimes we ask our developer too, what if is there a simple solution rather than installing a new app? And there's always challenges, right? You install a new app, installation process, integration, before you know it, you're banging your head against the wall with this or that aspect of it that you didn't anticipate. So I think you just have to be cautious and not overly stress it. Like you're not missing. That's the thing. I think it's fear of missing out, right? We all assume that there's some magical app that'll do this or that, and they're not. Look, man, if you got a good product and and you can get in front of people, that's the two hardest things. Making people aware of your thing and that's number one. Once you're all up and running, you can have every shiny app in the world, but if no one knows you exist and no one wants to buy what you got, it doesn't matter.
Mm. Yeah, I think that that's important. That the kind of gear or the tool, it should not be a crutch if or it cannot be a crutch if the products or the brand is not something that people want or that they're aware of. And you mentioned earlier that that how it's now more of a science, but you've learned it kind of hard way. You've gone the kind of long way where you're stumbling through and trying to figure it out. And when you're going through that, for listeners out there that are also kind of going through this, where they're stumbling, just trying to figure out one thing at a time, one day at a time. What helped you, or what let you keep going to, especially when you didn't have like as much of a blueprint as you're seeing these days, back when you're just kind of stumbling in the dark? What helped you keep going?
Yeah, a I think that goes deep. I think that goes deeper than I think fear of failure. I think, and I've thought about that. Why do uh, I think wanting to achieve something, wanting to. I think it's personal things that pushed me on when when even some people might have advised me not to keep going. In a really competitive sector. You go to any store and there's no lack of shampoos on the shelf, so it's not easy. It's not an it's not like, well, we invented something that didn't exist, or that it was a very, very competitive sector. And I think it's really just believing that there was a believing in the brand too. That there was something about the Beast brand and the name and the feeling. I think positive customer feedback and reviews help. That you have customers who kind of get it. What you're trying to do, and you're making them feel better. You're improving their life just a little bit. They go in the shower and they have a more elevated shower experience in our case, and that feels good. And that's having some kind of purpose beyond. And then over time, the brands evolve some too to incorporate an eco-friendly side too. Like I growing up, I grew up in South Florida, and I spent a lot of time at the beach snorkeling. I was like a little beach rat, and there were coral reefs there that aren't there now. Just straight. It's not that they bleach. They bleach. They're gone. There's sand. And so trying to incorporate something that made me kind of sad to something positive with what I was doing, I think that helped too. So having a purpose to what you're doing beyond just the making of money. So now we're starting to just reduce plastic in our product line, and just looking for ways to deliver a product people want and need, but minimize the impact. So I think a combination of all those things is what drives me.
Mm. And you mentioned one thing too about what started all of this was you said that, I think the words were like you're anxious about wanting to create something. Like there's this like thing bubbling inside of you that you want to just create things out in the world. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that. And I've heard this kind of maybe dichotomy between the creator versus like the CEO or the manager, the creating versus the scaling and maintenance and maturity kind of side of the spectrum on what you tend to focus on. As someone that is a creator that wants to create, have you found this transition difficult to switch into more of a, if you already created the thing, the product already exists, now it's all about kind of scaling and getting it out there. Have you encountered, issues, I guess, with this transition?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Early on, as you said, trying to create something people want. Like Y Combinator's motto is make something people want. And the process of doing that is different from having a business where, okay, people want it, how to make it more efficient, how to grow it, how to increase brand awareness. Those are, more execution things, whereas the other one, the first stage, is more of a creative enterprise. And now I have a board of advisors, board of directors, and it's learning to report to other people. All of a sudden, it introduces a certain level of it's having a boss, having bosses. You started this thing, maybe bucking against uh, being an established company organization, and then you're creating I aspire to having something that is established. So, and bit by bit it becomes bigger and more regimented and structured, and you need systems. So it's been, I almost think I could answer this better. I mean, it has been hard. It is a hard transition, and I think I've had to, like, I've talked to a lot of people. I've talked to other people who have made the transition. It's good. It's good. All I could say is just talk to other people who have been there, done that.
Yeah, and maybe is it easy to recognize when you need to kind of shift focus to work on those skill sets of execution versus is it clear that line between okay we're done, kind of not done, but like we should now devote more time to execution and making it more efficient and getting in, and fulfilling and delivering and scaling. Is it clear when that time needs to happen?
I would say a lot of people, and myself included, I felt, okay, I'll speak from my experience. I overcreated, right? I created too many products, and you get into a certain mindset of creating, and we created some really cool stuff. Like one of our most recent products is a great product, Beast Gold Wash. Here we have the Olympics coming up. We've got an Olympian on Team B. She owns shares in the company. She's going to be in the Olympics. Kelly O'Hara on the U.S. women's soccer team. But I think there's also a real argument that maybe we shouldn't have created Beast Cold, only because we have, from an efficiency standpoint and a scalability and all these business lessons, I had people telling me, stop, you need to stop creating. This is, look at the business, look at the dollars and cents. Don't run out of money. You run out of money, game over. And profit does matter. And I think I overcreated. I knew it was time to stop because I had people tell me, you got to stop. Smart people, finance guys saying, listen, you got to stop. You got to shift. And having people around you who are smart will tell you, you need to start, you need to start cooling down. Oh, now it's time. You need to stop. Because on my own, I didn't get there.
And I mean, this kind of attitude, I feel like what could be, I'm surprised that it's coming up now and didn't just kind of end the journey earlier for you if the focus is on if you're so prone to overcreation. Like what was happening in the early days?
Yeah. I mean, it nearly, this brand originated on Amazon. So on Amazon, I think it's interesting. Like you look at a lot of brands that launch, I would say maybe more cleanly on their own website. Maybe they only have 3 SKUs. Maybe they only have 5 SKUs. Maybe they only have 1 SKU, right? But on Amazon, ironically, it fed my urge to create and kind of fill holes on Amazon. Oh, there's nobody doing something quite like this. Let me launch that. You're right. It nearly ended the journey. That mentality definitely. I did have a marketplace for the things, but not everything's sold. And so, okay, so let's create, if we do this, it'll sell. But I definitely nearly ran out of money a number of times. And I think for me, and hopefully people that are listening will avoid that. We'll find a way to do it. The more methodical approach that we're taking now is now we have customers telling us what they really want. We can listen and we know what to make next. We plan more in advance, have a budget, kind of be more responsible, and then kind of focus the creativity around a specific project. That's a much smarter approach. But and yet I see so many friends with businesses and they just like create. And so you need to be self-aware of that and have good people around you that will rein that in.
Yeah, like maybe there are pockets of creativity that you can express by going deep onto like a product, or I've heard people saying they can get creative with many things along the kind of supply chain that's not just about new SKUs, right?
I heard a great quote that some creative when we went to go do a commercial. He said, I heard, "Go give me the freedom of a well-defined creative brief," and I thought that was a great phrase. Is like, there is something liberating in knowing. We are creating around this. Here's the box we're playing in. Let's do that.
Yeah, there's a kind of a speed element to that too, right? When you know the boundaries, or you're kind of protected by the boundaries, you can move faster and maybe try more things within those boundaries. Yeah. Now you mentioned that these days your product development begins with the customers telling you what they want. Tell us about that. You know, I imagine you getting tons of emails, tons of feedback. How do you decide which ones are actually kind of worth pursuing more?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a combination of listening to the customers and looking at the marketplace. You reach a certain size, people start replying to your emails, and I would say anyone here, I'll like we'll almost give people free stuff just for feedback. I mean, just that it's so invaluable. People who, especially the people who, I would say this, like not all feedback is created equal, right? Like so, the customers who
Mm.
maybe they clearly know the product line, they've tried a lot of stuff, and then have that they write something thoughtful. That's where you kind of, and you hear that from multiple customers, and you're like, okay, yeah, there's something there. And then you go back out and look at the marketplace and say, yeah, there is a need for this product next, and this makes a lot of sense. And then you have to look at the R&D side too, like how hard is it going to be to make it? How long will it take? What will it cost? Um, so I think it's kind of a give and take in that way.
Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the show, please leave us a review on iTunes to let us know what you think or what you'd like to hear more of. Now, let's get back to the interview. That makes sense. Now, you mentioned that you look at the customer feedback and the marketplace together. Can you tell us more about that, or give an example of how you use those two together to decide if it's worth product creation?
Yeah. So now there are a lot of beard oils on the market. That's one example. There was a time where there weren't many at all. Now the oils were out there, like something like argan oil or jojoba oil. Those are great oils for hair, head hair or beard hair. They're very kind of smoothing. Women knew this before guys, and then the beard trend happened. But now there's like a ton of beard oils out there, and so it's like, well, yeah, we've definitely had people ask for maybe different varieties of beard oils, but is it worth investing much more into? Is it core to our product line now? Where's the trend going? Kind of analyze like how much. I mean, it's the business side, really. You kind of have to balance the customer request with the business you're in, and that's one example. There's one or two other examples on the pod I'm going to save, but for me, because we've definitely had products that we know is like the next great product to make. There's stuff happening in maybe other sectors, maybe like we've actually kind of moved toward being more of a unisex brand, and we have some unisex offerings, and it's kind of, so now we started as a men's brand, but we've kind of moved men's to unisex. And I think there's some products that are in the women's area that are really, I think both women want them cheaper. There's sometimes what's called like a pink tax. There's articles on it out there where women will actually buy a product from a unisex or men's brand just because it's cheaper, because they know it's the same damn ingredients, and there's just this premium being charged. It's incredible like that. And so I think there's an overlap of what the customer's telling us, and like for skincare for guys, that women want cheaper too, where there's kind of a market opportunity, and our customer base, a lot of our customers saying, hey, make something like this.
That makes sense. And speaking of the move towards more of a unisex brand, you had that experience with your previous company, Lock in Maine, and you mentioned that I don't think you had much experience in this field, right? How did you even get started when you're entering into a field or category that you're not a customer, you're not an end user, and you might not have that much experience behind? Like, how do you even approach an industry like that?
Yeah, with dumb optimism, just I think being bold, being just wanting to learn. I think just kind of searching for opportunity. Sometimes that's all it takes. You're just you're just looking for opportunity. You're hearing, and you kind of dive into something, and I definitely dive into the pool first, whereas other people might check how deep the water is. I'll just go in, and that's what happened. I just kind of jumped in, and for better or worse, and we carry that Lock and Main. We carried other people's products to start, so we were a pure retailer curator of specific things that to start, women in New York City wanted and were having a hard time finding. So we were still serving a need. Like, that's opportunity. You hear the need that's there, and you have, in this case, people telling me, oh, there's a market here. But then over time, you learn the industry, and it takes you in a different direction. So I started learning. I got to know some celebrity stylists. I was like, well, how'd you make it? Like, you launched this brand. Like, you're not a chemist. How'd you do it? And eventually, just cultivating relationships led to me having a relationship with a cosmetics lab. And I think sometimes you just get, if people just, we all kind of want to see each other succeed. Even I'm really competitive, but I also really want everyone else to succeed. So that, it took some, not the first lab, but maybe like the third or fourth lab, they picked up on that. And they started working with me, even though I wasn't paying them anything or didn't have a lot of money, just because in part their business is that they need the next latest and greatest brand, but they also I think just wanted to see an entrepreneur succeed. And then same with the formulation, like we're bringing in a dermatologist to help advise me, and it kind of went bit by bit like that, just out of my prior company, until I was like, okay, I think I have a unique brand here that people might want to buy.
Mhm. And one other thing that you moved into next, especially when you were starting Beast, was into becoming an e-commerce director at a women's apparel and accessories retailer company called Able. And you mentioned that you helped triple the company's online revenue in 12 months. Tell us more about that. Like, what were you doing? How were you able to triple the revenue in just 12 months?
Yeah. So at that point in time, I had sold Lock and Main. I sold that business. Beast existed, but was still, let's say, getting off the ground. I wasn't 100% sure how big it was going to be, and that I had really cracked it with that brand. And just a friend introduced me to the CEO of Able, and their website's Live Fashionable or livefashionable.com. And I just fell in for their mission. They are, I believe, the first Tennessee B Corp. But at the time, they were doing nearly $1 million in revenue organically, just off people, word of mouth. Their national company, just off people talking about them and sharing them. And their website was having like 20-second load times. They had kind of a legacy WooCommerce site. And I just was like, if you guys just sped up the site, improved it some, and launched a little marketing around this mission, I think this could grow really fast. And this is, Facebook ads pre iOS changes this year. It was a little different world, but it was really just, I just saw simple things they could do, and they had a beautiful message too. Their statement was, beautiful products by women who have overcome. And that, with a product image on a faster website with some good digital ads, they grew quickly. And their mission is to create jobs for women. It's a combined mission, like many B Corps. It's to, make a profit like any company, but also fulfill this social purpose. And I guess the other thing too is I walked in the office the first day, and this woman gave me a hug, and she had a whole history. She had been recovered from addiction, and she was just so. I just remember that day walking in, I was like, all right, this feels good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a brand a company had a great story, great mission, and you stepped in and just removed a lot of that friction that people were experiencing when they wanted to buy, right, from the
Yeah.
website. Yeah. So a lot of that is like I'm sure you carried over once you started Beast. What else have you done to that you feel like has had the biggest changes in terms of growing the brand, in terms of getting people to be aware of it, to give it a shot, give it a try? What has worked for you guys?
Yeah, so the Beast brand, is similar to Able. You know, you have to. There's no magic. I think there was maybe a small period where it's like, hey, Facebook ads are these magical things, and they kind of were for a period. But then I think a lot of people saw there is a limit, and then the secret got out, and like any marketplace, prices go up and things change. So I as always, I think you have to. I've heard this, 360-degree approach to marketing, but for us, we've spent a lot of time creating content ourselves. If you go to our YouTube channel or our Instagram account, like we have a lot of images and videos going on, and that I think perhaps video is something I'd point to. Um, Creating, and there's again, it's like that whole conversation about don't over create, be careful over creating, make sure you're not like just spewing stuff out there, but the right video with the right selling points of what's different about your product or service and brand, and can go a long way. And then just sharing it organically, and of course testing it in ads, in paid ads, and just measuring conversions. But for us, yeah, we've created a lot of the videos ourselves, and we've kind of dialed in on that process some. Where a lot of times, I'll start the script, I'll write the first script, maybe in the shower, the idea comes, get out of the shower, go write it down, and then put it through a process where don't send it to the team, sleep on that video, make sure it's good. Because a lot of times, a lot of ideas we have, in the light of day, you're like, that's not a good idea. So, but for us, I'd say good, concise video content on brand. Again, now not to over push our YouTube channel, but we spent a lot of time there, and you can see some of the youtube.com/tame the beast, and you can see some of our hits, some of our misses. But that's for us, that's been a good area to focus.
Yeah, talk to us about the angle then behind the videos that you're creating. Do you try to focus on making sure that the product is the center of attention, or like is there some kind of storyline that you try to do? Like, how do you decide what's the right balance when you're creating videos specifically for YouTube?
Yeah, so I look at video and image assets and all of it as part of, again, you launch and create a new product, you're going to need all the assets to go with it. So once you make that product decision to create, there's a lot of work that naturally follows. And so new product, new collection, why did you launch that product? Why did we launch that product? What are the selling points? People have low attention spans, 3 seconds, 6 seconds, 8 seconds, somewhere in there. Differs a little by generation, but it's short. No matter, we're hyper smart at reviewing media. So you got to get to the point. You got to get to it quick, and you have to really filter through, well, what's really different about this product? What do people really want? And look at other people's commercials in the area. What are they like? We look at Old Spice. Not to plug. I hate plugging another brand, but hey, they revived a kind of a legacy grandfather brand, and how they do it. What are they touching on the commercials? And what can we learn from that, for us? So I think there's a lot to an effective commercial. And like, for instance, one of our products is the Extreme Yawp. It was actually the first product where I thought we had something. It was the Extreme Yawp beard, hair, and body wash. And we're like, well, what's unique about this? Well, it's the feel, right? Beast, you put Beast on a bottle. What are people's expectations? And over time, I learned, you expect something. You want to feel something. You want to smell something. That's what it's about. Beast is an experience. So we said, okay, what's unique about this? All right, so we came up with some great copy for it, and I think that's one of the top videos on our YouTube channel. But it's there's this like husky voice, and it's extreme yacht beard, hair, and body wash with an exhilarating eucalyptus tingle. That's a nice little reward for being an adult. And then like there's a roar. And then the other thing I'd say is think about a jingle too. Actually, someone from P&G, Procter and Gamble, early on told me, come up with a jingle, because
Interesting.
so for us right now, it's our roar. We throw just a beast roaring, which is actually a combination of an elephant. It's like three animals that are our sound person like meshed together, like a rhinoceros. He was just like playing with animals and meshing them together. He's like, I think this is it. This is the roar. I was like, that's it. That's the roar.
At least it will be distinct when you hear it. I think that's the most important thing, right? Now, I talk a little about the website. One thing that I noticed was this build a set feature that you have on the website. Tell us more about that. What was the idea, the reason behind having a part of the website about building a set of products?
Yeah, back at Able, actually, I saw that people want customization. There's something sticky about that. Those people who would customize spend more time on the site. There was even data saying, like looking at different customer cohorts, that they were more loyal customers the more you kind of dig in with a brand. So, and for us, we want to get people. Part of the mission too that kind of drives us now is just, okay, reducing plastic. Okay, how do we do that? Okay, more reusable bottles. Okay, well, bottle refill. We got to get people to kind of change their habits incrementally, and we want to capitalize on some of the other data around customers and loyalty and all that. So it's okay. That's kind of where it came from. But also it's just about trying to make it easy. And again, like you use the phrase reducing friction. Like I think that's a lot of it too. The more friction we can take out of, because people come to the product line and it's like, it's a full product line: shampoo, conditioner, soap, lotions, shaving products. Well, darn, where do I get started? It's like, here, let's make it easy on you. Start here. Pick a bottle. We only got a couple. Pick one. All right, great. Pick a pouch. Oh, there's lots of stuff. What do I? So you just pick one, and then boom. It's trying to make it kind of a 3-step process of getting people to kind of get into the product line easily, and incrementally change their habits.
Yeah, that's definitely important, or a great insight about how the more time people spend on the site customizing it, the stickier they are. And also it's almost like I guess as much as you can, a store representative, right, talking them through what are the important things to buy in order for you to fully experience the brand. Are there any other parts of the website that maybe surprise you that have had a big either impact on conversions or that people spend a lot of time on?
So what's funny is I've seen this on a couple of sites, that just the shop all. That's often one of the highest converting pages, just where it's like, people just want to kind of see and scroll. And it sounds silly, right? Shop all. You just give, you know what? They can just kind of see the whole thing and scroll down. That, and I think we definitely see people later, maybe in their life cycle of purchasing, start visiting like sustainability pages or about the brand pages. Also having the quiz page. I don't know why I didn't think of that. We have a quiz now, and it's kind of a fun quiz where we try to pair you with one of our scents. So that's another great example, I think, where people always try to think of, like at Able too. Both at Able and Beats, we did something where it was like a little fun for the customer to do, but also like instructive. So we're taking people down the path of just answering simple questions, and then we recommend some products, and it helps them kind of understand our different scents. So I would encourage people to try like a quiz with their customers.
So, and one interesting thing too that's in your website, I'm not sure if you're testing this or it's a permanent piece of your website, but it says here, want a free gift from us, getting the email and optional phone number, but it doesn't really say what is the free gift. Was that on purpose?
Yeah, we wanted flexibility to change it up. It's like sometimes it's like an inventory management thing too, where like, well, darn, we're out of those.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, you mentioned earlier that you use an app like Gorgias for customer service. Are there any other apps that you use that you can recommend that you use to run the website or run the business that you recommend?
Yeah. Well, so going back to our app discussion earlier, there's, product reviews is a thing, right? And early on, you may not want to invest a lot of money in product reviews, but at some point you start realizing, like, look, we need to feed these reviews into Google. We need to maybe syndicate them to other places. So a good product review app, we maybe want functionality like sharing reviews so customers can easily share their review. So Yotpo reviews to us was a good one. And we're kind of like now all in on Yotpo a little. We've got Yotpo loyalty. We've got Yotpo reviews, and we've tested some with Yotpo SMS. So we kind of went all in on around the Yotpo ones. But then also there's one, Data Feed Watch, just a feed generator, because you need that one. That one's more affordable. It just allows you to generate a feed that you can spit into Google or Facebook or Pinterest. There's other marketing channels, Bing, where you might need to generate a product feed early on. That's a useful one too. And Octane is a good one too for marketing. So that's like, and I would say Klaviyo for email. I think Klaviyo's emerged as one of the top email ones. So, but Octane's kind of like email and text, but for Facebook Messenger. And that's kind of the problem that Octane solves. And I think that's a good one for people to look at.
Awesome. So getbeast.com is the website. And I'll leave you this last question. What do you think is the area, what is the project that you want to focus the most time on over the next year?
It's going to sound silly, but fulfillment. And here's an offer. If you're listening to the podcast and you go place an order on our site, use code, I'm going to drop a code reference here. Use code BEASTBOSS. Okay, code BEASTBOSS, because you're the boss of me, the beast, or your own self as the beast. I don't know, but that'll give you 20% off. But if you then get the items and email me and tell me about your fulfillment experience, I'll send you another free thing. Like I'll look at what you ordered and pick something else from our product line and send it to you. So just email me at john@getbeast. I can't even speak now. john@getbeast.com. So buy something, use code BEASTBOSS, save 20%, get the products, email me, just give me feedback, simple feedback on fulfillment, the unboxing that, and I'll send you something extra free.
It's no joke. You are very serious about your fulfillment. So I appreciate the discount code for the audience. And I'm sure people will take you up on that offer, and excited to hear what kind of findings you get out of this experiment. So again, getbeast.com is a website. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience, John.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Shopify Masters, the e-commerce podcast for ambitious entrepreneurs powered by Shopify.